I made more money as an independent entity and artist than I ever have in my lifetime being a major artist.
Maya Marie Harrison, or simply Maya, born October 10th, 1979. There was something about Maya. From the moment she debuted in the late 90s, she had that soft, magnetic presence that didn't scream star, but quietly whispered it. Pretty, poised, and talented enough to hang with the elite names of her time, Maya Harrison entered the music scene with the kind of package record labels love. The trained dancer with a gentle voice, girl next door looks, and just enough edge to fit into the rising pop meets R&B wave. Her 1998 self-titled debut went platinum. Her 2000 follow-up Fear of Flying did the same, and she held her own on one of the biggest female collaborations of the era, Lady Marmalade alongside Christina Aguilera, Pink, and Lil' Kim. But for all her early accomplishments, Maya's name doesn't quite carry the weight it could have. Not because she lacked talent, but because her artistry never felt fully defined. She was never known as a vocal powerhouse, nor did she have the deep songwriting catalog or a standout culture-shifting album to cement her legacy. Her image, clean, attractive, graceful, was a strength but also a limitation. She often felt like the safe star, never too bold, never too risque, never too political. And in an industry that rewards extremes, that middle ground eventually swallowed her. By 2003, her third album, Moodring, went gold, and after that, Maya slowly slipped away from the mainstream. Whether due to label issues, market shifts, or a lack of reinvention, her momentum, musically, didn't last. She never had a true comeback, and instead found herself in the indie lane, respected, still creating, but largely forgotten by the same mainstream audience that once idolized her. And that's the strange part. Maya was never a flop. She made the rounds, she gave us moments, but her run was short-lived and her impact hard to define. Today she exists as more of a memory, someone whose posters used to hang on bedroom walls, whose music played in the background of our lives, but whose name doesn't carry the same legacy as others from her class. She was there and then she wasn't. And in the business of music, that disappearing act is often the final chapter. What stunted the growth of an artist who seemed like she had it all? What happened? Let's talk about it. Salute to Nana Jones on IG for this request. It's your boy JC, StuntedGrowthMusic. Let's get it, man. Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. Maya is a singer, dancer, and actress from Washington, D.C. who rose to fame in the late 90s for her soft voice, polished image, and dance talent. She signed with Interscope Records as a teenager and released her self-titled debut album in '98, which went platinum behind singles like It's All About Me featuring Cisco. Her second album, Fear of Flying, dropped in 2000 and featured her biggest solo hit, Case of the X, cementing her place among the era's young R&B stars. In 2001, she appeared on the Grammy-winning Lady Marmalade collaboration with Christina Aguilera, Pink, and Lil' Kim, marking a career high point. Her third album, Moodring, released in 2003 and went gold, but failed to match the success of her earlier work. After that, label changes and shifting industry trends caused her presence in the mainstream to fade, ending her run as a charting artist. Stunt number 1, not having a defining sound or style. One of the biggest reasons Maya's career failed to stretch beyond the early 2000s is that she never truly established a defining sound or artistic identity. While she had hits, her catalog lacked cohesion, jumping from cute R&B pop ballads to sexually confident dance tracks without a consistent through line. At the time, it may have seemed like versatility. In hindsight, it looked more like she never figured out who she was as an artist. Her debut offered a soft-spoken, almost teenage innocence, while Fear of Flying flirted with grown-up themes. By the time Moodring arrived, she was fully embracing her sexuality in songs like My Love Is Like Whoa, but the shift felt more strategic than natural. Each reinvention came off like a response to the market, not a reflection of internal evolution. And in an era dominated by heavy artistic personas, Aaliyah's futuristic mystique, Brandy's vocal layering, Beyonce's star power, Maya's middle ground presentation just didn't stand out enough to carry her forward. Even visually, Maya never had a signature look. She was always attractive, always styled well, but never iconic. No signature hair, no defining aesthetic, no trend she made her own. Everything felt slightly borrowed, from her dance routines to her fashion, and once the era of glossy R&B shifted into edgier or more raw directions, she didn't have a strong enough base to pivot. As a result, fans struggled to attach anything specific to her brand. There's no Maya sound or Maya era that stands apart from the time she was a part of. She was there, doing well, but not shaping the culture around her. And in a business where identity is everything, especially for Black female artists, that lack of distinction became one of the first major reasons her growth stalled. Stunt number 2, supporting act, not the main event. Throughout Maya's prime, she was often surrounded by stars, but rarely positioned as the star herself. Even at her career peak, she was more recognizable for who she stood next to than what she individually brought to the table. Whether it was appearing alongside Cisco on It's All About Me, teaming up for Lady Marmalade, or sharing soundtracks with bigger pop names, Maya's biggest moments were usually part of ensembles. And while those placements elevated her exposure, they didn't solidify her solo dominance. This dynamic extended to her albums as well. Despite going platinum twice, her projects never felt like cultural events. There wasn't a Dangerously in Love moment, a Full Moon, or an Aaliyah. Those albums helped to redefine their artists. Maya's were solid but forgettable. Her singles performed well, her image was marketable, but when it came time for the public or the industry to fully crown her, the momentum never arrived. Part of this was due to how labels viewed her. Maya was marketable, attractive, well-spoken, and able to dance, but perhaps never seen as someone to push as a genre-defining force. She filled a lane but wasn't expected to break new ground. And in an era as competitive as late 90s, early 2000s R&B, being good wasn't enough. You had to be exceptional to sustain. Maya was treated like a complement to the main course, and once the industry's focus shifted to other names, her support role was no longer needed. This lingering perception that Maya was just there hurt her ability to transition as trends changed. Without a moment where she truly stood alone, owned the charts, or shifted culture on her own terms, her music career struggled to remain relevant once the stars around her moved on. Stunt number 3, going independent. After her mainstream run cooled post Moodring, Maya's career entered a quiet but revealing phase. She parted ways with major labels and began releasing music independently, a move often seen as empowering, but in her case it exposed how little infrastructure she had outside the machine. Without major label backing, radio play vanished. Her videos stopped being events. Her music, though still released regularly, rarely reached the audience it once did. The 2007 leak of her shelved album Liberation symbolized this turning point. Originally slated for release under Universal Motown, it was quietly released only in Japan, with no US push. From there, Maya began self-releasing projects through her own label, Planet 9, often dropping EPs or digital-only albums that flew under the radar. While commendable from a creative standpoint, it disconnected her from the wider conversation happening in R&B and pop. By the time the genre evolved into more alternative or trap-influenced sounds, Maya's music felt dated. She remained stuck between eras, not quite retro, not fully modern, and without the industry clout or marketing support to reintroduce herself to a new generation, she remained out of sight. Her name would trend occasionally for nostalgic reasons, but her newer material, no matter how heartfelt or polished, never recaptured the cultural relevance she once had. Going independent works best when the artist brings a loyal core fan base with them or reinvents in a way that creates fresh interest. Maya had neither. She still toured internationally and stayed active creatively, but it often felt like two different careers, her mainstream success in one lane and her independent hustle in another. The gap between the two was never bridged, and without a major hit or viral resurgence to connect those worlds, Maya's growth remained stunted in a quiet, almost invisible way, still working, still singing, but no longer being heard. All in all, Maya's story isn't one of failure, it's one of fading. She entered the game at the right time, made the right moves early on, and delivered hits that still hold nostalgic weight. But while others around her carved lanes and transformed with the times, Maya never truly evolved past the era she came up in. She was beautiful, talented, and had her moment, But the moment didn't last. Her lack of a clear artistic identity, her role as a consistent supporting act, and her quiet fade into independence without a major resurgence all contributed to her gradual disappearance from the mainstream. Still, there's something to be said about quiet longevity. Maya never embarrassed her legacy, never became a tabloid name, and always maintained her grace. She may not have grown into a legendary figure in music, but she left behind a run that's still remembered with warmth. And for many, that's enough. Salute, much respect. But for these reasons, musically, her growth was stunning. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth Music, and I'm out.